Hi, everybody. I wanted to share two dreams that I had with you guys last night. Last night, something was very heavy on my heart, and I was just, praying to God about it and just asking Him to show me, what the issue is, or just settle my heart in the situation. And I had these two dreams, which kind of were the answer before I realized they were the answer. But they were kind of pertaining to the youth ministry, so I wanted to share. Um, well, one of the dreams I'll share. The second dream. One of the dreams was kind of the same thing. Actually, I'll just give a summary of that one. It's just relative to the need to refuel. You know how you like refuel at a gas station? The need to refuel in our walk with God. And basically, that is that intimate fellowship that we have with God is what sustains us, is what fuels us. And so the other scene in the second dream was that we were at the church, and it was kind of like a lot of people were at the church. The youth were at the church, older leaders were at the church, older people were at the church, but the youth were kind of like in the back. And it's kind of like when we do fundraisers like car washes or something like that, and people are like coming inside from outside, like from different shifts, like, okay, I stood outside with the sign for an hour, I'm coming in for a break, or I've been washing for an hour, I'm coming in for a break. It was kind of like that. It was like some type of, almost like a marathon is what comes to mind, that it was an ongoing thing, but it was like after this particular shift we had come inside. But when we came inside, there was food on the table, and I was at the table, but I wasn't eating. And then another youth came to the table and saw that I was kind of weak and was like, you need to eat, like, you need to eat, you need to. And I was like, I'm okay. I was tired, but I didn't feel like I'm going to pass out. And then, like, another youth came and kind of told me, like, they were concerned about me, and they were like, you need to eat. And then Bishop came to that youth and was like, you worried about her, but you not eating, and I've been telling you, like, you need to take better care of yourself, you need to eat. And so before I go into the next part of the dream, what the Lord showed me about that part was He was showing me, like, our food is not just the word, but it's the word, because you could just read the word, and it may just go in one ear and out the other, but it's that fellowship with the Lord, that communion where He has your attention, He has your full attention. And what does He say in His word? He said, I stand at the door of your heart knocking, and if you let me in, we'll come in. The Father and I will come in. I'm not quoting this exactly, but He said, Jesus, I believe, said, the Father and I will come in and we will sup with you. And for those who don't know, sup is like the root word of the word supper, which is dinner. So sup with you means we're going to come in and eat with you. And so that time of fellowship with the Father is like a time of nourishment. It's a time of strengthening. It's a time of building up. It's a time of, it's what sustained us. One time Jesus told the disciples, my meat is to do the will of the Father, meaning this is the thing that actually sustains me. And those are not just words. That's a real thing, And that fellowship, that intimacy, that communion with God in our lives is our food. We need that. Like, we need that. And if we neglect it, we will become weak. And another aspect of the dream that I saw is that for me, I knew I needed to eat, but because I was like, I'm a little faint, but I'm not like, I'm about to pass out, I was like putting it off. And we do that so often spiritually. Like, we wait till we like, what's wrong with me? I feel like this, or I feel like that. And it's like, that's when we want to seek God. We want to pray. We want to do this. And He was saying, like, don't do that, because you don't do that. We definitely don't do that in the natural, most of us. We eat when we're not even hungry, just eat. And He was saying, like, don't do that with me. I need to be a continual part of your I don't even want to say your day, but I guess I don't know how else to put it, but I'm with you always. And this is something he's really been impressing on me, that we need to embrace, that he is always with us. We say all the time, God is in us, God is in us, God is in us. But it's almost like that's a cliche, or that's just something to say, well, you better live holy because you know God is in us. But his presence is in us. His presence is with us all day long. It's in us. And he didn't come in us just to be in there, just to be in there to make sure you don't sin. He said he came to sup with us, meaning he wanted to fellowship. He's been saying this to us so much. And I'm like, Lord, help us to comprehend how much that means to you. I don't think we comprehend that that's what you want. You want that inner worship. You want that fellowship. You want to sup with us. You want everything that we experience. You want us to include you, because what we don't realize is you ordained all of it. Every single thing that we experience, we're little children to you. We don't go outside by ourselves, So every part of Jordan day, Holly and Jarrell orchestrate. Every part of Lauren's day, Shan orchestrates, and he wants us to realize it's the same with us and him. We're his children, we're his babies. And every part of our life, every single thing that affects our life, down to the commercial that we see when we waiting for our oil to get changed on TV. Every single thing that affects our life, he orchestrates. And so we need to be mindful of him inside of it. That's what he's saying. Like, don't just go through your day just thinking about your day, just think about what you're doing, think about what you gotta do. I'm here with you. Eat. Fellowship with me. Sup with me. You don't even have to wait for that 1 hour that you may have carved out, or 30 minutes in the morning or whatever. I'm with you all day. There's a time to just be alone with me, but I'm with you all day. Eat. If we got a lot to do, we don't say, you know what, I got a lot to do, so I'm just not going to eat today. No, I'm just not going to eat today. No, we never say that. We be like, I got to get me some drive-through. I got to get something to eat in this car, eat while I'm driving, eat while I'm doing this, eat while I'm doing that, because I got to eat. I'm going to eat. And so that's the same thing that the Father is saying, okay, we got a lot to do today. Let's do it together. Let's do it together. So that was the first part. So guys, please, I just pray that God puts this in our hearts and we realize how much he wants to be acknowledged in us. He's in us. The second part of the dream was right before I woke up. I was still in the same place, like in the church or whatever, but then this book was in front of me. And this book was like a textbook, like how you read textbooks in school. It kind of reminded me of like a science textbook. But it was like a book about Jesus and about the kingdom of God. But it was laid out like a textbook, like with the examples, and you know how they have like the illustrations and then writing. It was like that. So I turned the page, like it was one illustration on this page, and I read it. And then I turned the page and there was another illustration. And I knew they were both like, it was like examples that were being given. Like they have that in math books where they give multiple examples. It was like that. So I forget what the illustration was on the first page. But when I turned the page, the illustration that I saw was a house. It was like a drawing, like a cartoon drawing. And there was a house and there were footsteps outside the house. Like somebody had tried to come to the front door, but the door was closed. And it was like there was a little caption that was like, what can I say, representing God's voice. And his reply to the person basically that came to the door, or the caption underneath it said something like, oh yeah, this is what it said. The reply said, it was like, oh no, this is a party. Only friends are invited. Only friends can come in. And basically it was like, I understood I don't know how to explain it, but it was like a summary. But I understood that this person that came to the door knew that there was something going on in the house and they wanted to come. This was God's house. and they wanted to come in the house, so they came to the door. But God basically told them, like, oh, this is not like everybody could just come in here. This is only for my friends. And so the person couldn't come in. And it was like, when I woke up, I know the Lord was showing me how judgment was going to be. And there's a scripture similar to this in the Bible, a parable, but he was basically showing, like, this celebration that I'm going to, throw for my household, or however you want to say it, you have to be my friend. There's different ways that God refers to us. He refers to us as his children. He refers to us as his servants. He refers to us as heirs. He refers to us as different things. But the one, and ironically, we were just talking about this at church, he also talks about us being his friend. And so I knew that in this dream, I knew that this lesson in the textbook was saying you have to be God's friend, or else you're not going to be able to come into this celebration. And so what I realized was, one, a lot of times we talk about God being our friend, like, he's a friend to us, but are we a friend to him? I am a friend of God. Even when we sing that, really in our minds, I speak for me, in our minds, what we're really thinking is, he calls me friend. Like, duh, I didn't even, y'all bear with me. But that's what we're thinking. Like, really, I'm thinking he calls me friend. When I say I am a friend of God, I'm thinking God sees me as his friend. But am I a friend to him? In other words, do I respond to that friendship, or do I treat that friend, like, do I reject it? Because he called Judas friend, right? When he was coming to betray him, when he was coming to kiss him on the cheek, he said, friend, where have you been? But do you think Judas was a friend to Jesus? No, Jesus was expressing his sentiment, that this is how I see you. But in that dream, I understood that you have to be his friend too. And by that, I mean, there has to be you have to be familiar with God. We're not going to go into the kingdom. We're not going to enter into God's kingdom without having a familiarity. I always mess up that word. Familiar, you know what I'm trying to say. Without being familiar with him. Like, if God is still somewhat like, I know I hear him, I know I talk to him, but we're not familiar with him. Think about somebody you're very familiar with, your husband, your wife, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother. Somebody who you're familiar with, and all the things that come along with being familiar with that person. You quickly identify their voice. You know things that they would do, wouldn't do, very quickly. You could just tell what type of mood they're in. You know when they're feeling like this, they want this. When they feel like, you're around them. That's big, because you can't be familiar with a person that you don't spend time with. And so that's what he was showing me. Like, if you're not familiar with me, you're not going to be able to come into this celebration, this thing that I'm preparing, the thing that he has prepared for all those who he has called. But he said, you won't be able to come into this thing if you're not familiar with me. You have to be my friend. You know how casual friendship is? Like, there's no, like, you don't feel uncomfortable. There's never awkwardness. There's never a nothing. There's definitely no iniquity before. There's nothing blocking between you and a friend, a person you're a friend to. So if there's anything in your heart that you know God is not pleased with, or that is just, he doesn't like it, and you don't go to him about it. You don't go to him to resolve it, because if there's an issue between you and your friend, if that's really your friend, you go to them. Right? Because you don't want that thing to be a hindrance between you. It's going to bother you, and so you're seeking the Lord. How can I address this, Lord? How do I go to them? How should, if it's a touchy situation, you want that thing to be out of the way. You don't want anything between you and that person. And that's how he showed me, like, it's more than even just pleasing me, like just making sure you're doing everything right. It's bigger. It's beyond that. You have to be familiar with me, because you don't think of your friend like that. Like, let me make sure I'm doing everything to please them. You just want things to be well between you and your friend. And that's what he was showing me, like, you have to be my friend. You have to be my friend. So I hope that was clear. Like I said, I hope that was clear. If anybody has any questions about it, please feel free to either post them, in the group chat, or, I think it'll be beneficial for everybody. So post it in the group chat. Oh, but the key to that, how do you become familiar? Same answer. It was like all the dreams had the same theme. Acknowledge me, I'm in you. Fellowship with me. Fellowship with me. That's the only way to become familiar with me. Fellowship with me. And that's what he was showing me was the answer to the thing that was bothering me before I went to sleep that I told him about. He showed me, like, you're not including me in this situation. You're going about it by your natural reasoning, but you're not acknowledging me in the situation. You calling your other friends to talk to them about it, but you ain't talking to me about it the way you talking to them about it. Include me in everything. Everything. That's the only way that I will consume your entire life, is if you acknowledge me inside of your entire life. Acknowledge me as a friend. When you go to your friends, you don't try to think about, how should I say this, how should I say that. If that's really your friend, you just going to share your heart and to hear their heart. So I hope that was clear, but the long and short of it is just God is designed this whole thing that we call salvation to be close to us. To be close to us. That means more to him than anything. It means more to him than all the issues that we think we may have, all the mindsets, all of that can be quickly resolved if we draw close to him. Yeah.